This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Kevin Tucker and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic!
What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. Today is January 27th, 2025. Jonathan Osborne here. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Kevin Tucker. Kevin, how are we?
I'm great, man. The Magic won a basketball game. First time in 2 weeks. Feeling great about that. You and I, as we record this, we're second screening the AFC title game. Buffalo has a slim lead right now going to the fourth. Obviously, when you guys listen to this, you'll know if it's heartbreak or celebration, because I think most of America is rooting for the Buffalo Bills, as are both of us. But we'll see if Buffalo can find their way to the Super Bowl.
Not only do I need the Buffalo Bills to win this game, I need them to win the Super Bowl so that the Eagles and Saquon Barkley don't end up with a Super Bowl. Like, say what you want, he's amazing. He obviously is. They have a great team. He's played so well all season. Their team has played well all season. But when you're just a hater, there's no logic that can be explained, right? Like, I don't care. Like, my friends are texting me, like, you have to respect this guy. He's such a good dude. He's such a great player. All of that can be true. I can still hate his guts and not want him to win a Super Bowl because he's playing from, a division rival and, one of my least favorite sports franchises. But
it would
mine
be
comes great for the Bills to win all this.
I was about to say, mine comes less from a place of hatred and more from a place of, I think it'd be really cool for the Buffalo Bills to win a Super Bowl. Plus, I just don't want the Chiefs to win it. I mean, let's just be honest. But anyway, we'll see how these last 15 minutes go.
Yeah, right now, Josh Allen just picked up the first down on 4th and 1. Let's go. As we're watching this and people are calling for a fumble, who knows what's happening? That's going to continue to happen throughout this podcast, I think, as you and I are talking about our Magic and watching this game at the same time here. But yeah, very happy that the Magic picked up the win on Saturday night over the Detroit Pistons. Obviously, we will break all of that down. Kind of feels like the Magic are back. I said in the post-game hit that they are tentatively back because there's some injury stuff now with Jalen Suggs. Is he going to be good to go on Monday against Miami? Who knows? That did kind of put a damper on that game because the Magic had built this pretty significant lead in the fourth quarter, and it felt like the moment that Jalen Suggs went out, the Pistons sort of stole some of the momentum back and came back in that game. But we'll talk more about that, obviously, when we talk about that game specifically. One last time, wanted to remind you all of the video that we filmed at Kia Center with Levy Restaurants for the Orlando Table Initiative. If you haven't checked that out, it was a lot of fun. We got to taste great food and talk about this, Orlando Table Initiative that Kia Center and Levy Restaurants are putting on to help promote local Orlando restaurants. So it was a ton of fun. You can find that on our YouTube or on our X. Just be sure to go ahead and check that out. And the shirts are in, folks. If you were part of our pre-order back in December, we just got those boxes. They were shipped to my door last night. 2 massive boxes full of 6-man long sleeves. So this week we'll start to get those out. I've been a little bit under the weather, as you might have heard, or you might hear me talking here. And my wife's actually going to be out of town. So she's like the person that's going to be helping me ship these out and print labels and do all that stuff for the most part. So please just stay patient with us as those start to get in the mail. But looking forward to each of you, getting those in your hand to start to see, photos of people getting those, Kevin.
Yeah, I was about to say, if you do receive them, definitely take a picture and tweet at us or share it on Instagram or something of, whether it's the bag or the shirt or you wearing the shirt, and obviously we'll definitely share it.
Very much looking forward to that. That's going to be dope. And then I'm been struggling on what I want to call this. Is it a Magic Flash watch party, Kevin? Not super long notice. Kind of, we're just giving you all short notice here. But there's going to be a watch party this coming Saturday, February 1st at 5 o'clock when the Magic take on the Utah Jazz on the road, the beginning of their road trip. That's going to be at Patty's Pub, which is located at 995 West State Road 434 in Longwood, Florida. So our North Orlando folks who have been asking for a watch party, you are getting one. Again, that's going to be at Patty's Pub in Longwood. Unfortunately, Kevin and myself, we won't be able to make it, but there's nothing better than watching a Magic game full, with a restaurant or bar full of other Magic fans. So if you don't have anything going on that night, you're going to be watching that game anyway. You might as well drive over to Patty's Pub, get a Michelob Ultra, hang out with some Orlando Magic fans, and root on our team as they take on the Utah Jazz. So again, tip-off's at 5 o'clock. That watch party, all the festivities will probably kick off around 4:30. But again, make sure you guys pack the house at Patty's Pub this coming Saturday. Again, 995 West State Road, 434 in Longwood. Always going to be a great time. Now, Kev, before we talk about the game from, what was that, Thursday, we don't really want to talk a ton about, we can go through the week of the Magic, or the weekly state of the Magic. This week, the Magic went 1-2 with losses to the Raptors and the Trailblazers, and then with a big bounce back win over the Pistons on Saturday. At 24-23, at the time of this recording, the Magic are sitting at 7th in the Eastern Conference, which I have some questions about this, by the way, but they're 13 games back of Cleveland, 8.5 games back of Boston, 6.5 games back of New York, 3 games back of Milwaukee, 2 games back of Indiana. We're tied with Detroit, Kevin.
I have the answers you seek, Jonathan.
I'm sorry?
I have the answers you seek. I already know what you're going to ask about how we're behind them in the standings.
How are they ahead, but we're tied in record?
It's a math thing. So they are. Unfortunately, NBA and all these websites, they go by win percentage, and our win percentage is 0.511, I believe it is right now, or something like that, right? Because they've played 45 games and we've played 47 games, the math actually breaks down to the Pistons are 0.511, and the Magic are 0.51064, blah, 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 blah.
Okay, so we're getting into the square root of pi here, because on ESPN, it just says 0.511, 0.511 for the Pistons and the Magic. So when you extrapolate the mathematical equation and you multiply that by the square root of infinity, exactly. When you do all that, okay, they have a better win percentage technically. That makes sense.
But yes, you're right. If and when, these teams were to be actually level as far as games played and games back and all that kind of stuff, the Magic would actually be ahead of the Pistons because they do now own that tiebreaker.
Yeah, 2-1 in the season series against the Pistons with the win on Saturday. The Magic are a half game up on Miami. So as you're listening to this on Monday, tonight's game is absolutely massive. And then we are 1 game up on the Hawks, and we are 4.5 games up on the Chicago Bulls. Chicago Bulls 2-8 in their last 10. They're in big danger of actually falling out of the play-in altogether. So those are obviously things that we're going to continue to keep an eye on. Taking a look at the injury report, big news, Goga Bitadze is questionable for Monday's game versus Miami. I believe he was doubtful on Saturday. He wasn't completely ruled out, but was eventually ruled out of that game. Gary Harris still out with the left hamstring strain. Jalen Suggs, who I don't know, I don't want to say that he played well particularly. He did have good moments Saturday night. The biggest thing that Jalen brought was the energy, and that was infectious and just spread throughout the entire team. He fouled a lot. We'll talk about that, but made some big plays down the stretch, hit a big 3, and then a couple possessions later, he slipped on what seemed to be like a wet spot. If you watch the replay, it looks like the left knee hyperextended. So he's been ruled as questionable with a left quad contusion. It was listed as a sore knee after the game on Saturday night. So if we know Jalen, he just missed a ton of time. If he's able to play on Monday, he will. But obviously we'll have to wait to hear more about that. And then Mo Wagner out with the torn ACL, Kevin. But hopefully we get Goga back tonight, because I think that would absolutely be massive. It feels like that's really the biggest piece that we're still missing currently.
Yeah, big for a lot of reasons, but even just specifically for this game, he's a guy that I think could really help the Magic as far as the matchups with, Kel'el Ware and Bam Adebayo and the weapons that Miami has. But yes, I agree. Goga, it feels like, you know what? Oh, I have this for my analogy. This is amazing. I didn't even think about this. It would be like getting the last Infinity Stone here. Goga being the last Infinity Stone would make us really officially back. That's what, it is made out of Legos. Yeah. This was one of the things I did in my surgery, after my surgery, my recovery, because I couldn't do a lot. And so I built a couple Lego sets, invoked my inner child, And I leave this on my desk because it's my reminder of the battle that I went through with my surgery. So that's a fun fact.
There you need to get like a Tony Stark arc reactor.
Maybe.
Proof that Kevin Tucker has a heart.
That's right. Yeah. Good luck. But yes, that I think you would be the last, and hopefully the last Infinity Stone to signify that the Magic are officially back.
Yeah, it just like as much as it would be great to have all these guys back, I'm going to have a tough time the rest of the season processing that we just don't have Mo Wagner. Yeah. Because like you and I have had this conversation, and I've made this point, at least a half a dozen times on this pod, is that Mo Wagner is so like he's such an underrated piece of the culture in the locker room in terms of like just not letting guys get too high or too low is always the guy who is down to earth and level headed amongst this roster really at all times, and then add what he brings to the floor. That's just a massive loss for the Magic. Like no matter how far they get this season, if and when their season comes to an end prematurely and they're not the ones holding the Larry O'Brien in June, we will probably look back and ask the question of like what kind of difference would Mo Wagner have made? Whether that be in terms of seeding or a particular playoff series, whatever. Like, I hope people are realizing, maybe I think a lot of people understood already the value that he brings on and off the floor, but I hope people are understanding that even more as we go longer and longer without Mo. So yes, getting Gogo back would feel like, the last Infinity Stone. Having Mo Wagner back would be like the I am Iron Man snap of having the Infinity Stone, so, but yes, very much looking forward to getting everybody back. Well, not everybody, Gary Harris is out, and, say what you will. I do think that would help just a little bit more having Gary Harris, but maybe not. Who's to say? And we're just a couple weeks from the trade deadline. I didn't think we were going to have this conversation. What would you put the odds at that we've seen Gary Harris play his last game in a Magic uniform?
I mean, we're a week and a half away from the trade deadline. Yeah. It's not this Thursday. Next Thursday is the trade deadline.
This Thursday, NBA All-Star reserves, by the way.
That's right.
I don't expect our guys to get in, but Paolo, I think he was fourth in the Eastern front court player voting, which is like, it's cool. The guy had played 7-8 games, and the rest of the league understanding that dude is absolutely one of the best players in the East is still pretty cool.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm definitely interested to see if because Franz was obviously playing well before he got hurt too, and has played more games. So we'll see what the coaches and all the different voters. I don't even keep track anymore of how the voting happens for the reserves, but
I think it's just like the coaches. I think
the coaches still? Okay.
I believe All-Stars or the reserves is still just the coaches. Okay. If I'm not totally wrong.
If that's the case, I think they got a shot. The question I have is if they'd actually play. Either of them. Like if they're voted in, would they actually play?
Franz absolutely would. You have to think. His first All-Star game.
I don't know. They just got back from injury, from being out for so long. I don't know if they do it. I really don't know. I don't know. It'll be interesting, but we'll find out Thursday if it's even going to be.
Franz literally just said, "F your minutes restriction. I'm playing 30 minutes on Saturday." Yeah. He literally just did that. I think I would be not shocked, but pretty close if Paolo was voted in, just given the amount of games that he's played. Right. I would be less shocked, but still very surprised if Franz was voted in as a reserve. There's a lot of guys that you can make the case for. Like we just saw one Saturday night, Cade Cunningham. I think Cade Cunningham is absolutely going to be an all-star reserve for the East. Right. I think he should be.
Both Franz and Paolo? What do you think? Just kidding.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if they were healthy, I don't even think it would be a question that both of those guys would be in. But, unfortunately, that's not the reality that we're living in, at least not this season. But back to the Gary Harris question. Where would you put the odds that he's played his last game in a Magic jersey?
It feels. Here's
I'm
the
at
problem.
Like 33%.
Here's the problem. I think if this team was still hurt, I think it'd actually be higher. But it's amazing what something like Saturday can do, to where all of a sudden you're like, oh wow, we got everybody back, and look at us, we can actually play somewhat decent basketball again. And so maybe that changes
a game in which he had no hand in.
That's true, but
he looked good on the sideline, as he always does.
Those shoes were dazzling. I don't know if you caught those. Those were
they
something.
Were bedazzling for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd probably go a little higher, like maybe like 40%. Definitely not 50-50 for me, but I think it's...
How many months of your salary do you think those shoes cost? For me, I'm probably going to say at least 3 months of my salary.
Yeah, I mean,
would be my guess.
I haven't done any. I'm not a shoe guy. I don't know what those bedazzled shoes, those diamond shoes, would go for. But yeah,
my guess is they're probably not real diamonds.
Salary. No. It could be like half my annual salary, honestly.
No, you make bank
like $250K. You know?
Oh my gosh, unbelievable. Oh yeah, I'm probably like 33% sure that he has, only because like, you know, a week and a half he's already been out so long, maybe he comes back. But I do think if the Magic are going to make a move, it's centered around Gary Harris, and I don't see him being part of the long-term plans moving forward. I think it's pretty obvious, you know, moving past this season, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but moving into next offseason, like one of the biggest needs is a bench scorer, right? I think the Magic still are invested in Anthony Black, obviously Tristan Da Silva, Jonathan Isaac, Mo Wagner, Goga Batadze. You know, who knows what happens with, you know, the rest of the big group heading into next year. But I just don't see a real place for Gary Harris on this roster, you know, moving forward. And it kind of feels like we're not totally past the like, oh, we need adults in the room, so we're going to go out and get a token veteran. But like, J.I. has been in this league for a long time, right? You've got guys like Paolo and Franz who are pretty mature for their age, Jalen Suggs as well. You've got Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Like, do we really need to bring in like the token veteran guys to continue to be like the adults in the room? Maybe you need a little bit of that. Maybe you don't. But if you are, it's more of like a Robin Lopez, you know, Joe Ingles type of thing than it is like Gary Harris, a guy who you might actually look to continue to contribute. And I think like the development of Tristan Da Silva this year, and I don't even know if it's necessarily the development because he's been so good, like really since he stepped on the floor. But with him being so good, I think, you know, it makes Gary Harris expendable. Yep. And if he's not going to be here next year, you might as well get something for him in a deal, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
So we'll see.
I'm excited to bring to you this week's Jam Hot Chicken Jam of the Week, the segment that we do each and every Monday episode where we share our favorite dunk from the past week. We're in a lot of high-flying moments this week, but there was one very special moment late in the second quarter on Saturday against the Pistons. It was a sequence that felt to me like real Magic basketball like we hadn't seen in a while. On the defensive end, Jonathan Isaac gets a great block. Banchero gets the ball. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope misses a three, which maybe that is in line with Magic basketball, I guess, because there's a missed three-pointer in there. Jonathan Isaac fights with the rebound. It ends up in the hands of Paolo Banchero, who's able to throw it down to finish off, again, what was a really, really special stretch there. And a really important stretch, too, as that really kind of helped or was a big part of the Magic's second quarter comeback to take the lead there on Saturday against the Pistons. A lot of fun, and that's why it's this week's Jam Hot Chicken Jam of the Week, which is brought to you by Jam Hot Chicken, who is bringing jams, culture, and hot chicken to the heart of Winter Park. They're at Nashville and LA-inspired Hot Chicken Shack, locally owned and operated at 400 West New England Avenue, Suite 13 in Hannibal Square. They're big fans of the Orlando Magic and Orlando Magic fan community, and so that's why we love to partner with them, and again, are doing so this season. You can follow them at Jam Hot Chicken on all social media, and check out jamhotchickenfl.com to check out their menu, online ordering, and all things Jam Hot. Again, big shout out to Jam Hot for sponsoring the show, and definitely go check them out and let them know that the Six Man Show sent you.
This episode is also brought to you by Next Snappa, Austin Vogt, Dalek Lopez, Magic Player History, and Michael Martin. These are some of our Hall of Fame and elite tier patrons. What's a patron? Those are the folks that financially help support the Six Man Show and help us do everything that we do. We literally can't do anything without them. No podcasts, no watch parties, nothing without the support of our patrons. So if you'd like to join in on the fun and join us in our mission of expanding this Orlando Magic community and fan base, you can head over to patreon.com/the6manshow, where for as little as $2 a month, like less than half of a Starbucks coffee, you can help us, again, do everything that we do. We have other tiers where you can get access to our Discord community, monthly Zoom calls, all that kind of good stuff. So again, if you'd like to help financially support the show, head on over to patreon.com/the6manshow and let's get back to the episode. Sure, let's talk about Thursday. Why don't we? I mean, I know we don't want to talk about it in a lot of painstaking detail. I think the most important thing is the contrast of the vibes. Thursday night and Saturday night, especially for myself, I don't know if you can speak to that. My guess is that you probably could. But yeah, you got your butts kicked Thursday night by a Portland Trailblazer team, without a couple of their, best players in the lineup, and without any of their guys like really going off and playing super well. You hold them to 101, but it was the worst offensive game of the season for the Orlando Magic, and probably Paolo Banchero's worst game of his career, if we're just being honest. Like, considering all the context, like some people will point to the game last year in Detroit where he was really, really struggled, but then came through and hit the game winner. But he was like crazy, unbelievably sick to the point where he missed 2 or 3 games consecutively after that Detroit game last year. And in this game, 8 points in 33 minutes, 1 of 14 from the floor, 0 of 4 from behind the arc, 6 of 8 at the free throw line, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 turnovers. And this was the return of Franz Wagner. They didn't do anything special like they did for Paolo. Franz said he just wanted to go through his normal pregame and intro routine. He had 20 points in 24 minutes, 9 of 19 from the floor. He was okay. Wasn't like spectacular, but it felt like a pretty decent Franz game. And then Tristan da Silva, he had a pretty solid game, 16 points. But the Magic, again, 34% from the floor, 24% from behind the arc, 67% from the free throw line, and had 19 turnovers. One of the worst offensive games that I can remember. And not even just talking about this collection, like I mean of any Magic team. Like really just one of the poorest offensive performances that we've seen in a while. And when you hold a team to 101 points at home, you've got to be able to come away with that victory. So this game, it just felt so like I felt helpless, and the process of watching these games and getting excited for these games and thinking, oh, maybe this is the night that the Magic are going to turn around, that just felt so futile in that moment. Like, are we ever going to be that same team again? Like, it sounds ridiculous, but if you watch this game, it was that pathetic of a performance that I was really questioning, like, hey, were the first 25 games of this year a fluke? Like, what is going on with this team? They were just so unrecognizable in this game. And hindsight is 2020, and now we have Saturday to look back, and now we can laugh about Thursday. But in the moment, it really didn't feel good because we got Paolo back, a couple weeks ago, and sure, that was a great game against Milwaukee that you end up losing, and you kind of felt like the team got the shot in the arm that they needed, and then they dropped off. And then Franz is coming back, and you're like, okay, this is going to be the shot in the arm that they need. And in his return, they just look so incredibly flat, Kevin.
Yeah, that was super concerning. And it like, if the Magic lost a competitive game, fine, right? Like, that's going to happen. It's the NBA. Anyone can win any night. But the fact that it wasn't even close, I mean, from the second quarter on, the Magic were completely outplayed and obviously outscored because we couldn't score at all. It was definitely concerning, and it was one of those things where I felt like you, I was like, crap, like, man. But I still also had in the back of my mind, we're still without Jalen Suggs, we're still without Goga. As you said earlier, we're still without Mo. And so I didn't put full stock into it. Like, I wasn't fully like, oh crap. But that was the first time, I think, this season where I was like, oh, man, like, maybe we have completely lost it. And if that's the case, something's got to change. But fortunately, obviously, things turned around for Sunday. But it was very dark Thursday night, that is for sure.
And it felt, increasingly frustrating because, again, now we're saying, oh, when we get this guy back, when we get Jalen back, when we get Goga back. But it's like, I mean, I thought everything would be fine for the most part with Paolo coming back. And then certainly with Franz coming back, and in a game where you have Franz and Paolo playing the majority of the game, and you score 79 points. And there were some moments where the defense looked pretty good. I thought Franz looked good, defensively. But then, like, there's other stretches where the Trailblazers are just getting to the rim seemingly at will, and guys are just, their heads are turning around because they have no idea where their guy that they're supposed to be guarding is, and all of a sudden he's getting an easy layup at the rim. And so that, again, sort of added to the level of frustration. But thankfully, there was Thursday night, but Saturday night happened. And Saturday night, I think we might be able to look back, and when we sort of autopsy this season at the end and we talk about the regular season, where like, hey, remember that stretch in, the end of December and into January where this Magic team just looked totally lost? That we might be able to point to this game as the game where the Magic really turned around. I don't want to say their season, because the season has really gone pretty well, for the most part. Like, we're sitting here and you're, 23 and 22, or 24 and 23, and you're 3 games back of the 4 seed, here at the end of January. I think if you go back to, October, all of us would have taken that. But in a game that showcased 11 lead changes and 9 ties, this was like as chippy of a game that I think we've had all season. I can think back to a couple others, but you texted, I think it was like midway through the second quarter, or midway through the third quarter, like somebody is getting ejected in this game. Like, there are, texts on both sides of the floor. I know, there were texts on Isaiah Stewart, Paolo Banchero had one. JB Bickerstaff got 2 in the final minutes of this game and got ejected. And then I think you'll read the entire quote from Jonathan Isaac, but probably the best non-Jesus related quote we've ever gotten from Jonathan Isaac, if you want to go ahead and pull that for us.
Well, I was going to say, before that, like, this game started this way. You remember, it was less than 2 minutes into the game when the Tobias Harris, Jalen Suggs thing happened.
Who does Tobias Harris think he is, by the way?
Yeah. Like,
that
was it a foul
so
by
strange.
Jalen Suggs? Yeah, it was a foul. But Tobias Harris, like, what are you doing, bro? Like, it was so weird. And so that moment happened, and it slows the game down and everything. You're just like, okay, whatever. But it almost like, I don't know if it set the tone or if the Pistons came into this game trying to do something like that. And again, I don't know if it's because that's who they're trying to be, or if it's because
the Bills just went for on 4th and goal and scored a touchdown.
I've been freaking out over here. I've been freaking out over here.
Good grief.
So I don't know if the Pistons, like, if that moment inspired the rest of the game, or if they went into the game with that mindset, And I don't know if it's just them trying to be tough guys, or if it has to do with the Jaden Ivey injury, right? Like, were they trying to just, get buck with the Magic because of Jaden Ivey's injury? I don't know. But the Jonathan Isaac thing, in the post-game interview with FanDuel Sports Florida, said, we know who Detroit is and what they're about, and they feel like that's them, but that's really who we are. So he's saying, like,
that's a spicy quote.
You think that's what you are? No, that's us. That's us. And the fact that fourth quarter, the Magic were able to basically put their foot down and, remind them of their place in the Eastern Conference versus the Magic's, it was pretty cool. And to hear Jonathan Isaac talk like that was wild. That was wild.
When Jonathan Isaac speaks confidently, he usually speaks with like the confidence of the Holy Spirit. That was the confidence of Jonathan Isaac that shone through in that quote there. Like, to your point, he does not ever speak like that. Yeah. So that honestly, like, you sent that to me and I had not seen that because, just for a sort of a look behind the curtain. As soon as these games end, Kevin is running to his computer to do the post game live. I run to my phone to film like the little post-game hit and tell everybody to go watch Kevin. So a lot of times, like, we miss the post-game interviews right after. Yeah. And while I'm watching Kevin on the post-game live, sometimes we'll miss like those types of like FanDuel, because they don't do them after every game. They do them after a lot of, home games that usually wins. You don't really get those after losses. But no, that was an awesome quote. And I do want to say, like, it feels like we're starting to get this way with like every Eastern Conference team. Like, we've had moments, obviously, with Boston. We've had a lot of moments with Cleveland. We've had moments with the Milwaukee Bucks. We've had moments with the Miami Heat. We've had, previous years, Killian Hayes and Mo Wagner getting into it in, the Detroit bench in Detroit.
Minnesota.
And now it's happening again with Detroit.
A couple years ago.
Yeah, it's the Magic. The Magic are instigators, like, and not in a really proactive way. It's just the way that they play and the way that they compete and the level of physicality that they play with gets underneath opponents and other fan bases' skin.
Yep.
Like, I held Pistons fans in like pretty high regard in terms of like basketball IQ. I have rethought that over the course of the past 24 hours. The fact that I don't want to say it's the majority or even like a lot, but the majority of Pistons fans that are showing up on my personal, not my personal, but our account's timeline on Twitter are ones that are saying like the Magic are, dirty players and trying to hurt their team. It's like, what game are you watching?
Yeah.
I understand people are, the Jaden Ivey thing, and you and I, talked about that. I did think it was like slightly of a reckless play, but at the end of the day, it was just two guys making a play on the ball, and it was really unfortunate that Jaden Ivey's ankle got caught underneath Cole Anthony. But the idea that Magic players are trying to hurt Pistons players is simply ridiculous. And to the Pistons' credit, when Jonathan Isaac says like that's who they think they are, but we are actually that, I don't think the Pistons are far off. Like, they've got some guys who, Cade Cunningham, and you say what you want about Isaiah Stewart. Like, that dude is ready to throw down at all times. I really like Asar Thompson. I really like Marcus Sasser. Jalen Duren, obviously, which Jalen Duren, dude, you throw the ball up anywhere, and crazy. That dude is catching it. He legitimately has hands like Jerry Rice. It's crazy. So, they've got a lot of young guys and a lot of young talent that I like. But I do feel like the Magic just have like a few more dogs than the Pistons have.
And they're like a year or two ahead of them as far as like the win progression, right? As you progress as a rebuilding team. The other thing that surprised me going back to the fans is like that fan base, like that's what they grew up with, right? Like the physical basketball, like talk about physical basketball. Like there is nothing more physical than bad boy Detroit basketball from the late 80s, early 90s. Like, there's
even
never been
the championship
like
team in the 2000s.
Yeah, never been anything like that in the
Ben
history
Wallace
of this league.
And Rasheed Wallace? Are you joking? And Tayshaun Prince? Like, what are we talking about here?
So the fact that Pistons fans have gone soft is the biggest headline for me over the last 24 hours, other than the Magic winning. Yeah, it's been very surprising. But like you said, I think they have a lot of good pieces, a very bright future. I'm still not sold on JB Bickerstaff, but we'll see how far he can take them.
Yeah, it's just kind of weird how many like fan bases complain about the way that the Magic play, and obviously it shows up in the way that opposing teams react to the Magic. But like, why are we trying to discredit and crap on teams like playing hard and competing and playing physically? I think it's really stupid. But going back to this game against the Detroit Pistons. In the third quarter, right, Magic get outscored 28-25. And I'm trying to go back. So the Magic are down 2 heading into the fourth quarter. And to that point, Franz was like 2 of 11 or something
1
terrible.
Of 12 or 2 of 12, I think it was.
Crazy, awful, efficiencies heading into the fourth quarter. And for a team who over the most of the season now has been just dying of hunger and thirst for star power, we got all of that and then some in this fourth quarter as Franz Wagner goes for 25 points, matching a franchise record, tying Tracy McGrady for franchise record in points in a quarter. And Paolo Banchero also 7 points, 4 assists in that final period, and Jalen Suggs added 5 points. He was 2 of 2, 1 of 1. The Magic scored 42 points in that fourth quarter, 15 of 18, 6 of 7 from behind the arc. That's really what kind of put this game away, like particularly Franz Wagner, hitting threes from deep. And early in the game, there were a couple of threes that he took where you saw a pretty significant hitch in that jumper. It was still present in those threes that he took in the fourth. But the fact that they were just net, all net after all net shots. Yeah, he talked after the game that win showed a lot of character from their team, and they have to keep that going. And I think that's where we're at this point is you showed us that you can muster up this level of energy and all that kind of stuff. We'll see what happens with Jalen, but we can't excuse lack of energy and lack of effort. And it was just great to feel like we're back. Like Jalen hits, I think Franz hits 3, Jalen hits a 3, Franz hits a 3. It was like back-to-back threes to give the Magic like an 11 or a 14-point lead. And it just instantly felt like we were back.
What I loved about this game, in addition to all those things, was...
As the Chiefs take a 3-point lead with 3 minutes and 33 seconds left.
Oh, man.
Please let Josh Allen do the Mahomes thing to Mahomes.
What I loved about this game was it was a reuniting of the true Paolo and the true Franz. They combined for 64 points, 32 points each. But it felt like... It was almost like Paolo was the starting pitcher and Franz was the closer in this game because Paolo was really good through 3 quarters. I mean, he was the reason you were in this game and then helped, obviously take the lead in the second quarter and all those things. And then Franz just took over in the fourth. But by the way, Paolo wasn't invisible in the fourth either. Paolo had a couple buckets, had a nice mid-range jumper that was pretty big.
Fourth quarter.
What, say again?
4 assists.
From
Franz and Paolo in the fourth. They're both huge. Fazan had a thread that he tweeted about that actually, that they kind of like stopped doubling Franz and Paolo in the fourth because whoever they doubled, Franz would just kick it to Paolo or Paolo would kick to Franz and that guy would make a play. So they kind of realized that we just can't double these guys right now.
Yeah, well, it's pretty nice to have 2 weapons like that. Just saying. But yeah, so that was
seeing
awesome.
Those guys like arms wrapped around each other after the game. Like, I didn't really live through Shaq and Penny, but I imagine it felt something like that.
Right.
Where you're just like, yeah, we just have 2 of the best guys in the league. And when those guys have it going, there's absolutely nothing you can do.
Yep, exactly. So, that was super special. And it definitely was the most back we've felt in a long time. And even just the 5-game losing streak, I don't remember a single stretch in any of those games that felt like, this is like Magic basketball. This team has these moments. Like, really, I'm thinking about the second quarter where we got a bunch of stops in a row, made a bunch of hustle plays. That's Magic basketball to me. And this team last season and for stretches of this season, they'd always have a stretch like that. Almost every game, they'd have a stretch like that you felt like either changed the game or blew the game open or whatever. And the last 2.5 weeks-ish, the Magic just didn't have a single one of those moments. And that's part of why all the losses were so difficult. But to finally see that Saturday on multiple occasions against the Pistons, it's like, okay, this feels more like home to me.
Sorry, I'm watching.
Yeah, you want to stop?
Josh Allen run for the first down. This folks, as we're recording this game is getting tight. The Chiefs have a 3-point lead with 2 minutes and 40 seconds left, and the clock is just ticking.
Stop.
No, but
let's just watch it.
We'll come back.
A few moments later.
All right. Well, quick little break there. Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, congrats, Fuchsia, one of our biggest listeners and supporters. I know she's going to be very excited about that. So, anyways, we were talking about this Pistons game. It does feel like this could be like a breakthrough performance for the Magic, and really happy in just the way that this win came with the Magic basically raining threes down in a 42-point fourth quarter. Just a impressive offensive performance that the Magic just like really desperately needed, and it coming on the back of their superstars. I'm hoping that confidence will just kind of seep through the rest of the roster and everybody just kind of snap out of the season-long cold streak that the entire team has been in.
I also don't think it can be overstated how important this win was for 2 reasons, at least, if not more. One, because obviously the team on a 5-game losing streak and 5 really bad losses, like blowout losses. So to bounce back from that is cool. But add to that the fact that the team is now going on this, 6-game road trip. So if the Magic had lost Saturday and gone into this 6-game road trip on a 6-game losing streak, I feel like that would have been problematic. And then, like we mentioned earlier, this does give you the tiebreaker over the Detroit Pistons. So should the Magic and Pistons end up tied in the standings at the end of the season, Magic would own that tiebreaker because they win the season series 2-1. So lots of things, lots of reasons why I think it was super important. And again, if just for nothing else, just to break the freaking losing streak.
Yeah, and you've got your longest West Coast road trip. We've had obviously a couple of long, East Coast or like Midwest road trips earlier in the season, but this is the long West Coast road trip. But let's talk about that now. Let's get into the week ahead. Tonight, as you all are listening to this, Miami, massive game. Again, the Magic are just a half game up of Miami. So if the Magic were to lose that game, I believe we'd be 24-24. They'd be 23-22. So they probably have a better win percentage.
Yeah.
Even though we would still be ahead, or would we now be tied in the season series with the Miami Heat? What is our record? Are we 1-1?
This would be, we were 1-1.
No, we're 2-1. So it would tie the season.
Oh yeah,
series.
a season opener. No, yeah. If they win, it would tie. It'd be 2-2. Yeah, you're right.
Right, and then. Do we see Miami again?
No, that's the fourth game.
The rest of the year. Yeah,
This
is the last game against Miami. So this is a big win. I think, you kind of really need this win at this point in the season. And all of a sudden, like, you're off of the tail end of a 5-game losing streak. Now you start a little, 2 games in a row, win streak. And then you have a chance to get some revenge Thursday in Portland. So Monday at Miami, Thursday at Portland, Saturday at Utah. Again, watch party on Saturday, the 1st, when the Magic play the Jazz at Patty's Pub in Longwood, Florida. I don't know why I just said Florida there. Duh. 995 West State Road, 434. Tip-off's at 5. Watch party starts at 4:30. But, Kevin, how are you feeling about this week? I'm just going to say 3-0. The Magic are back, 3-0.
Here's the thing, Jonathan. Monday against Miami. Do you remember the last time the Magic played the Miami Heat?
I believe it was the Christmas Miracle.
Nope, the one after that. Tyler Hero.
Oh, it was the Tyler Hero game winner.
Yep.
Oof.
So Magic lost. Do you remember the last time the Magic played the Portland Trailblazers?
Yeah, I remember. They lost.
Magic lost. Do you remember the last time the Magic played the Utah Jazz?
Yeah, they lost.
Yeah. This is 3 get-back games in a row to start this road trip. And so I'm with you, too. I'm also saying 3-0. I think Monday's going to be very difficult. I think Thursday, the Magic have the potential Thursday, and I don't ever predict this crap. I think they could blow the doors off of Portland on Thursday. That's what I think. I think they're going to destroy Portland on Thursday.
Hey, if you're in Portland, the get-in price of that game is $5.
Love that. Love that. And then the Utah game, I think, is going to be difficult, but that's what I'm sticking with it. I'm saying 3-0, Magic officially back. And I'm going to be so sad if I'm wrong. So that's my pick.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I need more consecutive wins here to keep the vibes going. And it sounds like Goga will probably. What's your thoughts on what's going on with Goga? I feel like, because we knew there was like a hip thing that also happened in the game that he got the concussion. I think they've been hiding the hip thing behind the concussion. I could be way off base with that, purely speculation. But for him to miss like more than a week now with a concussion is kind of strange.
I don't know, man. I mean, concussions are no joke. Like, brain injuries are no joke. I wouldn't. It wouldn't surprise me if it was legit. But yeah, I mean, I guess that could be a thing. I've never heard of that before. But yeah, I don't know.
Hopefully, we have him back Monday, and hopefully Jalen is good to go. If we have Jalen and Goga for this road trip, I feel pretty good about the Magic. What is it? 7 games? Or no, 6 games?
6, yeah.
You tell me we've got everybody healthy except maybe Gary Harris, but who knows what's going on there. You tell me we have all those guys. I'm saying like a 4-2, 5-1 road trip.
Yep. I think it's totally possible. So it's a lot of, on paper, winnable games. Obviously, when you go on a road trip, some of that goes away, right? But we talked about it. Miami, that's a winnable game. Portland, Utah, very winnable games. Those are very bad teams. Golden State, Sacramento, Denver, obviously that's a different level than the previous 3 games. But Golden State hasn't been that great this year either. They've got the aura of Steph, but outside of that, I mean, the Kings haven't been as good this season as last season. The Nuggets are obviously the Nuggets. But all I have to say, it feels like a pretty winnable road trip, but I feel like they can start at 3-0 at least.
Yeah, looking forward to that. I think that's it, Kevin. I don't think there's anything else that we really need to cover on this one.
That's it. Let's get some wins this week, please. Plural wins.
2 weeks until we have to watch this Super Bowl between the Chiefs and the Eagles.
Who's we?
Yeah.
You can watch. I'm going to watch the halftime show, and that's it.
I'm going to hate watch it. I have to hate watch it. What else am I going to do that night? There's no basketball on. Like,
yeah,
you and I will,
we'll record
at
the
some
episode
point.
of the Six Man Show during the Super Bowl this year. It'll be fun.
We'll start it with 5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter and just completely ignore what's going on. Yeah, I'm going to hate watch it. I just all these things about Saquon and the Eagles, like, whatever, man. I hate them, and I just
the last thing I'll say, like, there won't be 1 ounce of you that's happy for him if he gets it. Not one sliver of you.
He's a good dude. He's a good father. He represented my team well when he was there. That being said, screw him, and I hope he doesn't win.
All right, I hear you.
Listen, I understand that is a flaw within myself, but sports are stupid and just make you act irrationally.
It's true. And
he could have gone to 29, 28 other NFL teams, but he went to a division rival, and now could potentially win a Super Bowl. So whatever.
Yep. We'll see.
All right, let's go ahead and end this one. For Kevin Tucker, this has been Jonathan Osborne. You all have been listening to the Six Man Show, and we will catch you guys next time. See you.
Thanks for listening to the Sixth Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Sixth Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!